This is why people think WNBA players are too arrogant. After Brittany Griner claimed she could beat NBA star DeMarcus Cousins, and even called him this.
It's okay, little man.
DeMarcus Cousins accepted the challenge, and his reaction was hilarious.
I'm glad she's that confident in her abilities, but it's also a little delusional.
But it wasn't just him and other NBA players, like KD and Draymond Green, who thought she was crazy.
I don't know if that's gonna happen.
It was her own coach, who truly made her look like a fool.
I'm gonna go to the ATM, and I'm gonna sell my house, and I'm gonna put all my money on DeMarcus Cousins.
Oh, my friends. Yeah, we're going to get into one of those subjects again. This idea that women really think they have the upper hand on men when it comes to physicality. It's insane. Even though time and time again, we've seen those tons of videos where men literally demolish women in pretty much every single activity. Even average guys are kicking professional women's ass when it comes to strength and agility in a lot of areas. Just the average guy. So, my friends, in today's video, I want us to look at this video between Andrew Wilson and a feminist, and they are going back and forth in this one-on-one debate about who has the superiority when it comes to force. And we have to understand this very clearly. And I'm hoping that you can listen to this and understand the nuances. But the harsh part is, don't get too frustrated when, once again, you're seeing a woman who just cannot concede when she is wrong, even though the facts are blatantly in her face. And of course, I want to fill in some of the holes that were missing in this conversation because I was just sitting on the side there going, why didn't you say that, Andrew? Why didn't you say that? All right, my friends, subscribe. This is a good one. This is a great lesson for both men and women because Andrew just laid it out thick. All right, this is coming from Andrew Wilson, and he's always highlighted on the Forever podcast. Let's get into it, my friends. Hit the like button. This is going to be an awesome one. Okay, enjoy.
I am curious in terms of if you see, so you don't make this as a moral claim. It's just kind of a fact of reality.
It's a descriptive claim.
So do you think men should do these things? Like
which things?
That they should use force as an authority against women.
Well, sometimes. In some cases, sure. Like if a woman's committing a crime, something like that, I think men are totally justified in using force. I think if a woman attacks a man, he's totally justified in using force.
I'm talking as like a societal.
This is the thing. They have this idea that they could use force against a man, but there should be no repercussions for women. Even in the law, women have no respect for men. None. Look at this encounter here with a police officer and 4 women. Okay? Check this out, because this is just the worst. Now, what you see is that if that man wasn't there, there would be no way for those women to control those girls. None. That woman would have been overpowered and her butt would have been beaten. she would have to have used deadly force in order to protect her life. Notice the man didn't even pull out the taser or any other weapon because he could pretty much just handle them single-handedly. But women don't look at these things. They only know that I'm getting protection from a man, but if the man is infringing any of his power against me when it's on me, then that's a problem. Protect me, but don't touch me. This is what blows my mind. Let's go back to Andrew.
Yeah, but these are societal prescriptions. If a woman attacks a man, yeah, it's perfectly acceptable for him to
Sure.
smack her
But
up.
there are instances where you say like if, like, would you condone wife beating?
Well, no, but I wouldn't condone husband beating. So
Sure, but you're saying that, men's authority is through force. This is how, why
No.
we should have patriarchy.
no enforcement. Mm-hmm. Not so. That's the requisite.
But enforcement is...
Yeah, it is force. Yes. Yeah, but that doesn't
So
mean
authority is through
Remember, my
force.
claim is that might makes, not that it makes right,
Okay.
but that it.
So it's not a
shapes.
moral ought.
No, it's not. It's just a descriptive
So
truth.
do you think that men should work to cooperate with women in society?
No, I think women should cooperate with men in society because they
What
depend
does
on.
co mean?
Yeah, I'll explain. I think that women depend on men for the use of force doctrine for their own protection. So I think.
I
they
mean,
should
I think under
cooperate.
patriarchy, sure.
No, I think under matriarchy they still depend on men for force.
Well, you said protection, right?
Yeah, force.
Yeah. What are you protecting them from?
Well, you could be protecting them from other men generally.
Right. So I think under patriarchy, male violence is pervasive.
Under
And so that
matriarchy, male
creates-
violence is still pervasive.
Why?
Why is having a female leader going to make male violence no longer pervasive? That's bizarre.
You see how female brains think and why men's logic always freaking exposes the feminist bullshit. For some reason, she thinks that, if we have a matriarchy, all the men are going to be docile and behave because the women are in charge. You still have violent men in the society. It doesn't matter if the majority of men become sassy and soft and emotional and he can't pick up a gun or he can't, and women take over. All it takes is a bunch of bad men to rip the society apart and put everybody back into position. You don't think I'm right? Ladies, let's look at Afghanistan. When the Taliban took back over and they said, women, get your asses back in the kitchen. You're not going in to the workplace. Now, let's look at this little video here.
How helpless are women in Afghanistan? The Taliban's new rules have stripped them of almost all their freedom. They are not allowed to speak in public. Even conversations with female friends must be whispered. They can only leave home with a male guardian and must be completely covered in heavy burqas, with not a single strand of hair visible. Even female news anchors on TV are required to wear masks and headscarves. They are banned from education beyond primary school and cannot work in non-governmental organizations. Worse yet, if they fall ill, they cannot be treated by male doctors, and female doctors are extremely rare, meaning many women are left without medical care. Even access to public restrooms is restricted, and their home windows must be opaque so outsiders cannot see that women live there. Afghanistan was once a place where women could study, work, and enjoy freedom. But now, the only glimpse they have of the world is through the mesh of their burqas.
Yeah, and women don't understand that the freedom that is given to them are based on the men in the society, not because of they're powerful. If men wanted to take their rights, they would literally be like in Afghanistan. But women have been given so much freedom in the Western society, they don't realize the beautiful opportunities they have. But they keep pushing. They keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Lo and behold, man, if the pendulum starts pushing too far on one side, it's going to swing back just as hard to the other side. I don't think it would swing as far back as going into the same state that is in Afghanistan, But I can tell you, ladies, men are going to get to a point where enough is enough. If they don't see the society going in the direction that it should be going, they will take back the power. You all are enjoying it. I strongly see that this is on borrowed time. And the reason I know this is because the manosphere, the red pill ideology, and men in general are frustrated. We have to be cognizant that this is a possibility, my friends. Now listen, I'm not advocating for any of that shit. I'm just saying to you all, arguing the point that Andrew's arguing. She's not capable of maintaining force over men, physical force. There's no way to enforce power. Right now, women have a false sense of security.
There's a difference between saying, I have a society that's just filled 100% with women. That would be a claim, but you're not saying that. You're talking about a matriarchy versus a patriarchy.
Right, but I think when it comes to patriarchy, obviously we're talking about male supremacy and domination.
Yeah.
And a form of domination is through violence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with all of that. So what?
Yeah, so obviously if that's not a tenet of matriarchy, then I don't think male violence would be pervasive because it's not used as a form of authority.
Are there still going to be men there?
Yeah.
What's going to make them less violent?
Well, obviously because it's not used as a form of authority. But I just got done telling you that tied to
wherever men are and women are, women will depend on men for the use of force, period. That's my claim, regardless of where they are. So it doesn't matter if you have a queen. And it doesn't even matter if you put women as the CEOs of everything.
Are we assuming that just authority in general is force?
No. Authority in general is enforced, but in order to have rights or laws or governance of any kind requires force.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, so that's going to require men. So women are dependent upon men for force, period. So I think that
under a system of law, sure.
Under any system of governance.
You notice that every time she takes a drink, it's her actually conceding. She uses it as a distraction in this particular debate. She realized that she's just lost that freaking argument. Let me cover my face. She's trying to hide her embarrassment instead of just saying, hey, you know what? I can see it. I understand. Yeah, sure. That sort of condescending attitude, like, oh, how dare you? How dare you be right?
There's no system of governance in which women are not dependent on men for force. None.
You don't think that can be replaced with technology?
Nope. How? Men can destroy the technology. That's what force doctrine is.
Men maybe in groups too, but couldn't I say that about women?
No, because you're still going to have to compete with a male group. So your only options here are either this. Like, let's even say you reduce the male population down to 5%. You're just like, yay, it's all women now, and it's 5% men or something like this. You still would have a hard time controlling them.
We don't even have to go that far, Andrew. It's that if women, let's just say, hypothetically, the U.S. eliminated 90% of their men. Okay? 90% of the men have disappeared from the U.S. The simple problem is they're now fully exposed to be totally dominated and taken over by any other country where they have men in charge. So what if you have a whole bunch of guns? Ooh, okay. An army of 10,000 men to 50,000 women, those women are going to get annihilated. Okay, they have technology. Guess what? Other countries have technology. The problem with this sort of mentality from feminists is that they see everything in this little bubble because that's the bubble they have created for themselves.
Majority of women are absolutely delusional. They are.
How so?
But why? Well, they're delusional because they believe that there's this special man specifically for them.
Yes.
That will worship the ground that she walk on for eternity and not see any other woman besides her and not have any sexual desire for another woman outside of her and give her all of his money and all of his attention to her. And time. Yeah. And she believes that the older she gets, the more opportunity that she's going to find. You know why? Because she does not understand men.
They only see it as, if I dominate my husband, I get more. I can get what I want. If we can get our company to have laws in our company where men have to cower to the women and respect them and keep their boundaries at work, I mean, who cares about the other women who are lonely because no one hits on them or even acknowledge them at work or even mentor any of them? No one wants to teach the woman. I mean, who cares about that? Those horrible men stay in their corner while we come to work every day and we grind. There is absolutely no benefit to any of these stupid ass arguments. None. Women live in a Western society where the men take care of you, but yet you have no respect for the men. None. It's bizarre and insane what we're going through.
We know this because there have been war-torn nations where like 80% of the men have died, and they're still in charge because of that monopoly on force. It's not because women don't have access to guns. They have access to guns, but they're less good with them. Guns require physical strength. Technology requires physical strength. Like tanks, it requires physical strength to load one.
Okay. I mean, but when we're talking about cooperation, like co means with, so what's the delineation between you saying women should cooperate with men rather than men should cooperate with women?
Because men have the option that women don't have of utilizing force to make you cooperate.
Well, then that's not cooperating.
Yeah. Well, it is. Well, hang on. But it is still cooperation. So the idea here is just this. Is it the case that men should cooperate with women? I guess if they choose to.
Well, that's what cooperation is.
I would just say if they choose to.
I
wouldn't say that they should. I mean, they're going to be the ones who make the rules because they have the force.
Oh, her poor brain is just, it's frozen. It's frozen. Her brain cannot comprehend this one fact. Man or woman who's dominant makes the rules. Simple.
Wrestler was matched against an opponent 3 times his size. At first, he tried to go for a leg takedown, but crashed into what felt like a concrete wall. The giant barely exerted himself, just pushing the smaller wrestler back several meters. They say technique can overcome size, but any technique falls short when immense power comes into play. Just watch. This wrestler simply didn't have enough strength to throw that massive frame over his shoulder. In moves where the smaller wrestler was on the brink and risked injury, the giant effortlessly tossed and twisted him into any angle, smiling all the while, as if putting on a show without the slightest effort. This is exactly why weight classes exist in contact sports, to ensure a fair fight rather than turning it into a battle of David versus Goliath.
The weaker one has no choice in cooperation. That choice has to be given to the dominant individual. And because women know that they cannot physically dominate a man, they have to emotionally destroy him so that he feels that he's weaker than her. This is the push right now. This is the gynocentric society that they're trying to build.
But that's not cooperation.
Well, it can be cooperation.
No, co means with.
Yeah, it is with.
It's doing it together.
Are you saying that if somebody's in a position of authority, necessarily that's not a cooperation? Like, do you not cooperate with your children?
I mean, I do cooperate with my children.
Yeah, so then
but that's
aren't you an authority?
That's not authority.
You're not an authority?
An authority in what sense?
You're in charge.
In charge of certain things, sure.
You're in charge of everything.
What do you mean I'm in charge of everything? I don't tell him like what he needs to play.
Can little Johnny tell you he's not going to the doctor today, Mom? Can he tell you he's not going to school?
I mean, if he's sick,
sure. Can he tell you he's not going to school?
Again, if he's sick, that's a possibility.
Okay, but
or I don't want to go to school. I'm not feeling
lying.
well.
He's like, Mom, I'm sick. You think he's lying? Is Johnny going to school?
Most likely.
Yeah. So,
but that's not cooperative. That's me using my
authority. When he goes
authority.
and gets in the car, and he's quiet. When you take him to school and you drop him off, that is cooperation.
I see what you mean in that.
Just say, yes, I get what you mean. You're right. That's it. We cooperate in society, not because we want to do some of the things that society says that we have to do, but because the society has an authoritative figure called the law in charge. I know that if I break those rules, there will be consequences because the law is much more powerful than I as an individual. He could have given that example, but she just can't freaking understand that. I don't get it. You got to cooperate regardless of whether you like it or not. You might not like it, but you have to. Cooperation doesn't mean that you like it and makes you feel good. Cooperation basically means, you know what, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, because it's either going to be better for both of us, or that person has an authority over me and I have no choice. I still have to cooperate. Prisoners have to cooperate in prison. Do they want to? No. But there's a warden and guards there that will ensure that you damn well cooperate. Yeah, together. You're working together. Doesn't mean that you like it. Once again, it comes back to females' feelings. Because we don't feel like working together, that isn't cooperation. Yeah, you're working together. Cool. Just because I told you to do it doesn't mean that you're not doing it. Once you start doing it, that's cooperation. Whew. Man, this frustrates me just listening to this, man. But this is how feminists argue.
In that sense, maybe there's a better word that I'm trying to think of where it's more working together and negotiating, where there is no necessary authority, like a partnership.
It's how you say it. It's the words that you're using. I don't like the words. It makes me feel icky.
Yeah, but why should men have a partnership when they have the monopoly on force? I don't see why they need to have a partnership with women.
Why would you want to subjugate women?
It's not subjugation any more than it is with your children. So I think it's a privileged position that they get because they have the use of force. If they can be drafted and women can't, they get extra rights. Women don't get.
I don't think that like war and the draft can always be like a necessary condition of the human existence.
Okay, give me a single 100-year span in which there wasn't massive war.
The Iroquois lived in peace for 600 years.
No, the Iroquois fought plenty, especially within the Iroquois.
I mean, there is a period of time, but there was also a period of treaty and peace.
The Iroquois are you talking about the Iroquois Confederacy?
No, the indigenous tribe, the Iroquois.
Yeah, I know. They had a confederacy, though.
Okay.
Yeah, so the confederacy meaning like in the United States, but under like a loose doctrine of law. The Iroquois Confederacy. My understanding is that the Iroquois fought endlessly, along with most Native American tribes.
No, there was a period of, I would have to look up the source, a period of 600 years of peace. No, I don't think war is a continuous state of mankind. War is just fighting over resources.
Yeah, you sure?
Yeah.
And mankind's always fighting over resources.
Wars are fought over ideology, religions. Wars have been fought over women. Nothing to do with resources. Wars have been fought over greed. Yes, I have enough resources, but you have a lot and you're weaker than me, and so I'm going to take yours just because I can. I want to expand my territory right now. So when I'm listening to this, anyway, let's proceed.
Well, yeah, because of either scarcity or manufactured scarcity.
Well, I mean, scarcity can simply happen naturally, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, are we talking about like?
So
like
if you just have natural scarcity, which happens all the time, you can have conflict, and the enforcers in that conflict are going to be men. Men are going to be the defenders of your country,
right?
Your
But when
nation,
it comes to like natural scarcity, then obviously, if you're in like communal groups, then that scarcity can be overcome where there's abundance.
Not always. Depends on what it is. Like, how are you going to communally in a group do anything about a food shortage? There's no food.
Other communities.
Yeah, if you have access to them.
Right. And I would say, like, in today's society, we absolutely do.
Yeah, that's true. In today's society, we do have global trade, things like this. You can assist people with various things. War hasn't gone away at all. Not even a little bit.
Well,
in the 20th, 21st
right,
century,
because
there's
of
been more warfare than ever.
Yeah, because of manufactured scarcity. I agree.
No, it's not always because of manufactured scarcity.
Yeah, it would be dependence theory.
Okay, so why did we go to war with Germany? That was over scarcity the second time?
World War II?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the rise of fascism.
So what was the scarcity?
Well, within that one, I would say obviously it was like authoritarian regimes trying to enact
scarcity
land.
Though? From who?
Oh, I love how Andrew just hold her feet to the fire. She tried to deflect there. What was the scarcity? There was none.
From Germany. Germany was trying to...
How did that affect us?
I mean, it didn't, but obviously we wanted to stop imperialism.
So it didn't have anything to do with scarcity for us, did
it? Eventually down the line, it was America's concern that...
Here comes the water. Here comes the water. She just cannot freaking admit it, but here comes the water.
Germany or Russia would become a superpower and then start to come take our land. That's what.
Wait, what? So there was no scarcity for us, and we still got involved in the war. It's not always about scarcity of resources.
I mean, I do think it is somewhat of a basis. Because isn't that what regimes are about power or authority over your land and your people?
Yeah, your land and your people.
And acquiring resources.
Yeah, what did that have to do with us? We didn't have to get involved in that war.
I know, you're absolutely right. We didn't.
Yeah, so, but...
Woo! The first time she admitted, you're right. America never had to join the war against the Germans, but it was the right thing to do.
We didn't get involved in it.
But I'm saying that the
it wasn't even packaged as like resource problems. Nothing. So what resources were we without?
I'm saying that's like the crux of war.
It wasn't the crux of that war.
I mean, we were intervening in order to stop the imperialism from Germany.
Very strange. How does that... well, here's the thing. Even if we had let it go, wouldn't we have benefited from that?
I mean, it's hard to say.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, that has nothing to do with scarcity. I don't think that the propensity for human war and violence is always about scarcity and resource. I think that that's Marxist nonsense.
What would it be about?
Oh, it could be about all sorts of different things. It could be about an idea of conquest, right?
What do you mean by conquest?
Oh, I want to take over everything because I want to.
Well, isn't land a resource?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that it's... What's the scarcity? You have plenty of land. You just want more anyway.
Yes.
But how does that come down to scarcity?
The word is greed. Human beings are predominantly greedy. We're one of the few species that are greedy. Every other species will eat until they're full, and they will not interfere with anything else. Even a lion, you could walk right past a lion if he is full. If he is hungry, he will rip you apart. But human beings are inherently greedy. I've already named all the other possibilities of humans going to war. This is just one of them. But this woman just can't see this shit. I don't get it. This is the problem. Most women just don't understand violence. They're so passive in their thinking.
Because you're saying the motivation is, I don't have enough of it.
It's essentially acquisition of resources. And if you have more resources, then you're less likely to have scarcity.
Okay, so you agree with me that kings are the ones who send their people to war?
Yeah.
Do kings have a lack of resources?
I mean, not within like their own personal experience, but within their kingdom. Yeah, isn't that what led to the fall of Rome? Was essentially too much global expansion, and then because they didn't have the resources in order to sustain their civilization.
No. Well, I mean, maybe there's a small part there, but it was Christianity basically is what destroyed Rome. So that's what basically took out Rome. You know, when it's all said and done, was Christianity. It was the idea of no more unification of religious paganism. But I guess that's neither here nor there. You could that's another thing you could be fighting over, just religion. What's the scarcity there?
Oh, sure.
I don't like, Christian says, I don't like Muslims. Muslims say, I don't like Christians.
Sure.
Where's the scarcity?
I mean, obviously, that's not a scarcity of resources. So, sure, I can concede that there could be other motivations.
Yeah. So, and
I would say that would be the main motivation, though.
Okay, and so then within any motivation, men are going to be the operators of forced doctrine.
I'm sure you will feel the frustration just like I did. But I thought it would be an enlightening debate for you guys to see what we as men have to deal with in the everyday world. Okay, guys, let me know your thoughts. Let's have a conversation. Let's have some great comments. I want to hear you guys' feedback. All right. Do you think that it's going to get to a point where we're going to roll back to the point where we're like Afghanistan, where men are going to say, okay, enough is enough. We need to take control of this thing because it ain't pretty over there? Or do you think we're going to come to a point where women are going to take control of everything and we'll be left going, okay, this whole matriarchy thing where we're all passive men, nobody's having any babies, society slowly dying. Because women have become men, and men have become women, and babies are just being incubated, born in test tubes. And then there will be more couples who are females, males, and all of the kids that they do have will have no idea of how men and women work together. That is the way it seems like the world is moving, okay? Let me know if I got it right, okay? So my friends, subscribe, book a session if you need any help with any of your problems in life. I am here to be your mentor, your guide, and of course, hit that like button, and I will see you tomorrow in the next video. So until next time, remember, whenever in doubt, always, always ask an older man. See you in the next one. Cheers.